Limitless Wrestling fans, another edition of the Limitless Wrestling Podcast coming to your ears wherever you may pick up your podcast. John Alba, alongside the czar of Limitless Wrestling, Mr. Randy Carver. Randy, I'm back in my own quarters this week with a brother-in-law now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yes, the other Alba is off the market. I don't want any of the Limitless Wrestling heathens to be, stalking out there, so... But
there's enough of that in the news this week.
Yeah, you're not kidding on that crazy story that is.
That's makes unsettling is the word.
Unsettling is certainly the word. But it was a fun week at home in New Jersey, and we're back in action here in Orlando, Florida. Just reporting about the Thunderdome, Randy.
Yeah, I was gonna say you got back and hit the ground running with some interesting news.
If Limitless Wrestling had a Thunderdome, where would it be and what would it look like?
I just feel like that would be a rickety contraption in my backyard, to be honest.
The Thunderdome concept sounds like a Randy Carver idea.
The Thunderdome to me sounds like an electrified version of the fucking dome that the dirt bike riders would drive in at like the circus.
Yes, not the cage that Abdullah the Butcher got executed in.
Oh my God! I literally just watched that last week. That match is just insane.
He's fried. Abdullahs Fried.
It's such a contrast of characters in that thing.
It is quite possibly the dumbest thing that's ever happened in the pro wrestling ring, and that is saying something. That is saying something because anytime Eric Greenleaf gets in a ring, that should qualify. But nonetheless,
yes, agreed.
There we are. Hey, I was talking to your boy Mac Daniels this past week.
Yeah,
getting some nutrition advice from him because I don't know if
you've seen bulking up, John.
I don't know if you've seen him. He's ripped, and he was telling me he really wants to get on the podcast.
All right. Let's just do it then.
Okay. So we'll set it up in the next couple of weeks. The Mac Daniels tell-all sit-down.
What is there to tell?
We got a lot.
He's been around for a year. It's going to be a very low-rated podcast.
We got a lot to get into. We got Mac Daniels. We still have to do the Eric Greenleaf episode.
Maybe we'll combine them. That would be a wild.
It would not end well for Eric Greenleaf.
That would be a wild ride.
There would be a lot of harassment.
Greenleaf would come into that with a big ego and just try to take shots at you and Mac Daniels the whole time.
And that would not go over well at all.
Probably not.
So, hey, catching up on a few other notes before we dive into this week's episode here, which, by the way, we have a huge announcement at the end of this episode. So do not miss that. Huge announcement. Huge. How about Alex Chamberlain making his debut on AEW Dark?
That's very cool. It's always cool to see, and I don't know if you hold this like same feeling. I feel like you may, as like a Maine resident and a professional wrestling fan. If I say a Maine resident, you were here for a couple years, but I feel like you were pretty ingrained in the territory. It feels really good to see people who have really put in the time and the work and are able to break out of such a depleted scene, especially at the time that Alex was in Maine, and really make something out of yourself and get opportunities like this. So I was very stoked to see that for Al. One half of the original Maine State Posse with Alexander Lee. I say the original. There's been a lot of different versions of the Maine State Posse throughout the years, but one of the most prevalent for sure, him and Alexander Lee for a while. So really cool to see that. I got to check out the highlights the other day, and hopefully he gets more opportunities there.
Both members of that match, Randy, the Alex Chamberlain Mr. Grimm match, find their way into AEW. Just proof that the Alba Star Search works, baby.
I guess you better be next to fill it out, huh?
I'm just saying. The Alba Star Search is a resounding success. And
it
yes,
just never ends well for you, though.
Well, it may be true that Alex Chamberlain did tweet that ultimately his goal was to see me get put in a body bag, but nonetheless, it was a success. Congratulations to both of those guys. Always cool to see Limitless Wrestling talent hit it on the big stage. We like seeing that. I thought he and Sean Spears had a good match. So
yeah, from what I saw, I really enjoyed it.
So good stuff there. Randy, we're talking the road. Episode 3 and Episode 4. So Episode 3 went down this past week. We hyped it up a little bit last week. And let's get into it. Now, Copeland defeated Nick Stapp. You were excited to see what these two could throw down, and apparently, what you were telling me beforehand, people really seem to like this match.
Yeah, this one, very popular. It seemed like once we dropped it on youtube.com/Limitless Wrestling, a lot of buzz for that one. A lot of tweets sent in. I think it's a very enjoyable match. I think Nick Stapp gets better every time I see him. He had a couple good matches at the Pandemic at the Dojo series back in March, so I was really happy that we could get him back rolling when the road kicked in. But a big win for Kennedy, able to tap out Nick Stapp in the opening contest.
Now, what does this mean for Copeland?
Honestly, I think more singles matches because Alexander Lee's obviously tied up with this best of 5 series, and we'll get to that in a second. But the whole premise of doing tapings like this is to really kind of put people in new situations, see what we can get. And that's honestly where, it's cliche to say, but that's where the magic happens sometimes. I think about Let's Wrestle, for instance, which before the tapings, Let's Wrestle was really where we kind of threw shit at the wall and see what stuck. Alec Price and CJ Cruz, who were 2 guys coming from different schools, hadn't really had too many meetings on shows. I don't think they had any meetings in the ring until Let's Wrestle. And then that turns into a match that ends up on a pre-show of a Limitless Wrestling show. And then they end up, staying there for quite some time. So I just think it means more singles opportunities for Kennedy Copeland down the line. She's definitely going to see more in this series, and I'm excited to see what else she can do.
You think she's someone who could break out and find herself on more Limitless shows once things start getting going again? I feel like she's been around for a while. She's gotten a lot better in a short amount of time. I feel like Limitless fans would really take to her. There's like a punk rock attitude about her.
I think so too, and I think a lot of it comes from her finally kind of figuring out what Kennedy Copeland is, what's comfortable, and she's really differentiated her style of wrestling over the past year. I think really incorporating a lot of her Brazilian jiu-jitsu training into what she's doing in the ring. And honestly, I think it's translating really well. Like I just think the matches have improved tenfold over the past year and a half, and everything else follows suit. So I definitely think she's someone who could take that leap. And, she'd actually make it back to Limitless. She had her debut at Hybrid Moments, I believe, November of 2017. So I definitely think she could get back to Limitless once things are rolling again.
She's got a little Ruby Riott in her, doesn't she?
I could see it. Yeah, for sure.
Just a little comparison I'm making. Well, you talked about her partner, Alexander Lee. He finds himself down 2 matches to none in this best of 5 with Frank Yeager. Frank Yeager surprised him in match 1, and in match 2, he caught him sleeping, hearkening back to the late great Eddie Guerrero, getting Alexander Lee to fall victim to a DQ at the referee's behest, even though maybe there wasn't as much tomfoolery as the referee may have thought.
I just think in this match, they pushed the referee too far. I mean, they were fighting on the outside, blatantly not listening to the referee's count in the ring. Alexander Lee throwing Frank Yeager into trash cans on the outside. Even before the match started, Alexander Lee removing the mats from around ringside, exposing the hardwood floor on every side. So I just think the referee got to a point where he had enough, and Alexander Lee was the one who introduced the chairs, and it was a perfect circumstance. Frank Yeager was on his toes, but I think this was really kind of a coming out party for Frank Yeager, who I think was really looking for a huge match like this to kind of cement himself in the world of Limitless Wrestling. I think he's always been someone kind of teetering on the edge and just kind of needing that breakout match to solidify himself. And I think honestly, when Let's Wrestle was consistent, he was doing that. Had a long feud with Eric Johnson that culminated in the dog collar match, and I think he really proved himself in that time frame as well. But being up 2-0 against a Limitless Wrestling original like Alexander Lee, that's pretty good for Frank Yeager kicking off on the road here. Nothing to sneeze at. But
Alexander Lee now, this veteran, well-traveled veteran, finds himself as an underdog. And that's not a position I'm sure he's used to being in.
No, and it's just kind of been a rocky road for him since the MSP match at the Expo. So he really needs to get back on track. We saw Danger Kid fly in and attempt to make the save for Frank Yeager. Wasn't able to get his hands on Alexander Lee, but we do find out later in this episode it's going to be Alexander Lee and Danger Kid on episode 4. We'll get to that full preview in a second, but maybe it'll benefit Alexander Lee to kind of take himself a step back from this best of 5 series and focus on something else for a week.
If Frank Yeager can win this series, what does that mean for him once shows continue?
I think it certainly cements himself in Let's Wrestle and will earn him some future singles opportunities, which I think is the best way to prove yourself on any show. But I mean, he's had 2 good showings thus far. Granted, the first match was very quick. I think the first match was less than 2 minutes. But the second match, the one on episode 3, a really great showing for Frank Yeager. I told him I think it's one of the best matches of his young career thus far. So that's what you have to do when you're, 2-3 years into the business. You have to prove yourself against people like Alexander Lee, and that's exactly what he's done.
So we talked last week about Eric Johnson and Dylan Nix. At Pandemic at the Dojo, I thought they had a really good match. And Dylan Nix is not someone who's been wrestling all that long, but he brought in a partner for this one. Eric Johnson did get the win. He issued that open challenge. It was Connor Hex making his debut, a Limitless Dojo talent. What did you make of Connor's debut here? And what do you think this means for Dylan Nix and Eric Johnson going forward? Because there's certainly a score to be settled later down the line, in my opinion, between these two.
I think so, too. I'm with you. I enjoyed the meeting between them at Pandemic at the Dojo. That was very early in the career of Dylan Nix. And actually, at the conclusion of this series, I believe he was only up to 10 or 11 matches. So that tells you how new he is into professional wrestling thus far. But bringing along Connor Hex with him, trying to settle the score with Eric Johnson. Connor Hex, a trainee at the Limitless Wrestling Dojo. Always cool to see a pro wrestling debut, on any level. Any show, I think it's very cool to see someone, the culmination of some hard work. They're kind of achieving a dream and taking the next step forward in the journey. But I think it was a rude awakening for Connor Hex and Dylan Nix. Certainly not the best outing. They got their asses handed to them by Eric Johnson, who I think is out to prove a point. But still very cool to see his debut. I think if we end up having another set of these tapings, there'll certainly be another match for Connor Hex down the line. I think he's ready for that. And it's just pretty cool. It's always cool to see someone who we've really seen him from day one. He had very little prior training before coming to the dojo. I think he had done a month or 2 at the New England Pro Wrestling Academy. So he was still very new when he came to us. So to see how much work he's put in and to have that finally culminate for him, I think that was pretty cool, but there's still a lot of work left to be done.
Now, Eric Johnson, this guy is on fire. This is a guy who is a main wrestling mainstay. He's calling his own shots. Where can things go for him? Because if this guy keeps going, and if these rumors about the Limitless Wrestling World Championship are true that we talked about last week, maybe that's a guy who starts climbing the top of not just the Let's Wrestle card, but maybe even on the Limitless Wrestling card as well.
I mean, over the past few months, he's been climbing up the ranks in the world of Limitless Wrestling anyway. I mean, this marks 6 straight victories for the big man. He's calling his own shots, like you said. He wants another 2 people, and I think he's really waiting on that big profile match. I think he's waiting for someone big on the roster to kind of come step up, stick their nose in his business, and honestly shut him up. I think that's what he's waiting for, because it's gone to the point where he feels like anyone stepping up to him in a singles capacity, he can defeat him. Kirby Wackerman gave him a great fight on episode 1, but the beatdown was still put on by Eric Johnson. Kirby Wackerman fell in defeat, and then Eric Johnson, he wants 2 people now. He proved himself all throughout the Pandemic at the Dojo series, only had 1 loss, and that was to Zach Burton on the episode 1 of that series. So I think he's been doing this 16 years, and he's really in a full show capacity, never been on a Limitless Wrestling event. So I think that's the logical next step that he's trying to prove that he's worthy of, and he's going to try to go through the roster to do it.
Speaking of Zach Burton, have you spoken to him at all during this pandemic?
I have. I talked to Zach. Jeez, he's in a group chat, so I kind of talk to him every day. But talked to him a couple weeks ago. I think he's doing very well. I mean, he's still working, trudging through like everybody else. But all things considered, I think him and the fam are doing well.
I really enjoyed his work at the dojo, and I said this in the past. I always thought he had some of the most untapped potential of any talent in Maine, and I really hope to see him back out there again as things continue here.
I really hope when things get back to normal that he really considers putting some time into a run. And he was beginning to do that. Like he was in the stages. He had to take some time off. Life gets busy for anyone, and I understand that. Had to take some time away for a little while, but I think it was like January or February area of this year he started. You know, he had been poking around for a while, but then he started coming consistently and wanting to get back on these cards, and worked his way back on the cards and was having killer matches at the tapings. He had one with Rip Bison that I believe is available on YouTube to check out. And then the 2 matches with Eric Johnson at the Pandemic at the Dojo series. Just a lot of good stuff that he was pumping out for someone who really hadn't been in a ring that much over the past year. So I hope he does come back. I hope he wants to stick with it because I think, just like you said, a lot of untapped potential there.
He works really smooth for a big man, doesn't he?
Yeah, he moves very well. I mean, he's got to be around the 275 to 290 area, and moves very well for that size.
Has a lot of charisma too. I know he does a lot of voice acting on the side, so
Yeah, he does.
That's pretty cool stuff he's doing there. Wishing him well, certainly. And the main event, Rip Bison and Danger Kid. It really feels over the past year here in Limitless Wrestling, there have been 2 guys who've just really broken out. 3, I'll even give you 3. I'll give you CJ Cruz as well. But Rip Bison and Alec Price. And Rick Bison just does it again here. Defeats Danger Kid. This guy is on the run of a lifetime.
Yeah, a big win for Rip Bison. His second in 2 weeks on the road. And again, just like we were saying with Alexander Lee earlier, it's big when you can beat someone who's been here from day one, knows the law of the land, and has been successful in a Limitless Wrestling ring. And that's someone like Danger Kid. But Rip Bison taking him to his limit. A lot of gnarly spills in this match. This one's up for free on YouTube as well if you haven't got to see it yet. But a really fun main event. Another win for Rip Bison. And he's rolling, man. He was rolling in the Pandemic at the Dojo series. Had a great match with Warhorse at our last live event that we've had this year. So I think big things on the horizon for Rip Bison for sure.
And if anyone wants to catch up with episode 3, how can they do so?
Well, if you want to see individual matches, you can go to youtube.com/Limitless Wrestling. Most of the matches from episode 1 and 2 are there as well. But if you want to see the full episode, backstage promos, a bunch of extras, you can go to independentwrestling.tv. If you don't have an account, you can sign up with the promo code Limitless. Gets you a 5-day free trial, and there's 30-plus Limitless events that are available to stream anytime on demand. 150-plus promotions on this as well. AIW out of Cleveland, Beyond Wrestling, GCW. A lot of the big independents in North America are on this streaming service. So give it a look. Give it a test if you want with the promo code Limitless to get a 5-day free trial. And you can watch this episode in full.
You mentioned AIW there real quick. How about our boy, All Ego Ethan Page? Do you see the shape this guy is in?
Dude, what did he say? I think he went from like 242 pounds to 215 in 2.5 months.
And he's shredded.
He looks unreal right now. Like best shape I've ever seen him in his career, I think.
Easily. And he's just doing it with dieting and exercising. That's it. Just putting in the work.
He's devoting the time to it. I was talking to, I think, a couple people in a class this week. If you are able to put, it doesn't have to be 100% of your time, but I mean, if 100% of yourself, as much as you can, into pro wrestling, and you get results like that, you know what I mean? And that's a huge part of pro wrestling, whether it's your cardio or your look, that's going to translate and help you in the ring. And it's pretty obvious he's doing 100% of what he can to be in the best shape of his life for this run in Impact Wrestling right now.
Well, let's talk about episode 4 of The Road coming up this week.
This episode, Randy, might be the most diverse in the series so far.
It's a doozy. It's
well,
wild.
Speaking of doozy, how about Dozer versus Ace Romero? Are you kidding me? You told me about this match the day that you taped this. You said, you're not going to believe what we just laid down. And, and it is Dozer versus Ace Romero. I am so excited for this match. Some people may not have context of what this means, but I guess we can provide that now. Ace Romero and Dozer formerly Roadblock, they have history together in the main wrestling scene, especially as Ace Romero was just coming up.
Yeah, this one just honestly, like, so cool that we were able to put this together. Ace came up a couple days early before the tapings, and we were shooting the shit, I think, the day before, and he mentioned, like, what if I wrestled Dozer? And Dozer's been someone who's been around the main wrestling scene since 2009. He broke in the debut year of IWE. He was an IWE trainee under Eric Johnson. And he trained all over the place. Like, he would then break off and trained with Sonny Roselli for a little while, trained with Larry Huntley for a little while. He's kind of gone everywhere. But he's been kind of a fixture around the main wrestling scene for a long time. Started refereeing and then ended up wrestling as the Roadblock Mark Mahoney. But then when Ace Romero came into the fold, which would be the end of summer 2013, is when Ace started wrestling around Maine. They were put together by Eric Johnson. They were a tag team called the Leatherheads. They were the IWE tag team champions on a few different occasions. And, they were the team of the promotion when I first broke in as a ring announcer. And, I don't know how long they would have teamed. I want to say it was probably a year and a half run, close to 2. And at the end of it, obviously, they didn't have a turn, but they kind of phased out the team after a while. Ace started doing a lot more single stuff and kind of advancing up the card. And they really, when Ace moved away from Maine and really only started taking bookings for Limitless Wrestling here, they didn't really have a chance to have any closure on anything or not one more time in the ring. It was just kind of over. And Dozer's been a guy who, he's really taken over the past year some initiative to get better and try to improve in the ring. And this is also a guy I skipped over. This is a guy who's gone through a terrible motorcycle accident and was in a coma for a while. And people, genuinely did not know if he was going to make it or not. And not only did he make it, but he worked his way to getting clearance to fucking wrestle again, which is bizarre after having such a life-threatening accident like that. But Ace just looked at me and said, what if we do this match? What if I wrestle him? Because it literally, it's been something that we know that he's been wanting for a long time, and he's actually putting in the work to make it happen and deserve an opportunity like this. So Ace kind of made the request, and of course, these tapings are very open to what people want to do. I was all for it. And
what was his reaction when you told him?
I let Ace tell him, and he was very thankful for it, because he's just this, Ace is a very close friend to him too. Means a lot to him. I think they mean a lot to each other. And, we fuck around with Dozer a lot, but dude, he's a dude who will always be there, put in the work. And if you ask him to do something, he'll do it to the best of his ability every time.
He's as nice as a guy as you're going to meet. And
absolutely.
He's a character too. So,
he is quite a character,
so I'm sure this match, you don't have to tell us anything about it other than, is this match as awesome as I hope it is?
Yeah, dude, it's quite an appearance in Dozer's Limitless Wrestling debut.
I'm very excited for this one. If you're gonna watch for any of these matches, that's the one I've got my eyes on. We got the Sea Stars returning here versus the Girls Room.
Yeah, very exciting one. I think a lot of people very excited for the Girls Room, or as they would say, the Sisters of Construction. But no, this is a very fun tag team match. I think a lot of the fans were surprised to see this in our split because I don't really know who to cheer for here. I think both of these are two beloved teams in the New England area. I think people, the girls' room has only been seen, I think, a few different times, and sometimes with Skylar as well. But I'm very excited for this one to get out there. A very fun tag team match, and they pushed each other to the limit.
How is Skylar doing?
Good, I believe. She kind of took a break on wrestling at the end of 2019. I think her last show with Limitless Wrestling was Fresh Blood in October, and kind of took a break after that to focus on school. And I just don't think there's been anything really going on right now as it pertains to school or wrestling for her. But I think they're doing good. Her and Jeremy Leary. I know Jeremy Leary's working hard in the brewery right now. I think it's really cool that he's finally kind of broke into that industry because it's something that he's been passionate about for a long time.
Did his hair grow back?
Eventually, yeah. I'm not sure how the hairline's doing. I haven't asked. I haven't seen any. He did not send a Christmas
You do not
card.
ask a man about his hairline, Randy.
No, man. No, I'm hoping for. He had the best hair in professional wrestling, and that's a big.
That's disputed.
That's big shoes to fill. That's self-proclaimed, I should say.
Yeah, I was going to say that's disputed here.
But it's got to be tough. Like that's big shoes to fill. You've kind of painted a huge picture of yourself. So I don't know. I've seen him in a lot of hats lately. So I don't know.
Interesting. We got Basic Becca and Alec Price. This is a masshole brawl, if you will.
Yes, it is. I don't know why that got me. Alec Price, Limitless Wrestling's resident slimeball, wanted this match with Basic Becca, and I think it's a very interesting challenge for Basic Becca. Alec Price is a very fun person to throw at someone for a challenge because Alec Price, I think, is one of the toughest dudes on the Limitless Wrestling roster, even though he wouldn't, at first glance, probably wouldn't look that way to an outside eye, but you think about what this dude has gone through, like JD Drake, Jake something, now Ace Romero, if you've seen on episode 1, which was a wild brawl.
He's fearless.
And it's intriguing to kind of throw him in a situation with a newcomer to see what they bring to the table, because I know how tough Alec Price is. I look back to the Nick Stapp match, which was on the finale of Pandemic at the Dojo. That was a real test for Nick Stapp to see where he was at. And I think this is the same thing for Basic Becca. She picked up a victory on episode 2. Very fun trios match, teaming with CJ Cruz and Ricky Archer against the Higher Society of Love. So now it's a big singles test for the aspiring TikTok star, Basic Becca.
A masshole melee, if you will.
Ooh, okay.
Yes.
Now we're getting a little pizzazz on it.
That sounds like a YouTube detail there, so just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
And we got Danger Kid versus Alexander Lee, as you said. This one's set up in episode 3. Two guys who know everything about each other. Lots of love, lots of hate. Just normally Danger Kid's someone who works with so much finesse, but in a match like this, he just has to bring the physicality.
Yeah, he's got to kind of take the gloves off and be ready to brawl it out with Alexander Lee, because that's what Lee does best. And I'm intrigued by this one because these two, I don't believe, have shared a ring since the Expo. So we've seen a metamorphosis of Alexander Lee over the past year for sure. It's a different Alexander Lee at this stage in his career, I think. And honestly, he's got to be a desperate man, going 0-2 to Frank Yeager. Definitely can't sit well with him, but excited for this one. Very excited, because anytime these two are in a ring together, I think some wild shit goes down.
Certainly, and I'm looking forward to episode 4. What are the details on episode 4?
So it's going to stream this Wednesday, 7 p.m. on independentwrestling.tv. The streaming link is iwtv.live, so you can go right there. If you are not a subscriber, again, you can subscribe, use the promo code Limitless. You'll be able to watch that episode live for free. We're going to post a replay as well a couple days later on facebook.com/Limitless Wrestling. It's going to stream at 7 p.m. Friday night as well. So 2 chances to catch it live with us Wednesday, and you can tweet using the hashtag #TheRoad to join in the conversation.
Okay, so let's get down to business here, Randy. We got a big announcement to make. Things, well, they've sucked this year. Let's just be real.
Yeah.
2020 has been a total wash. This year would have been the 5-year anniversary for Limitless Wrestling. Still is, but there would have been a 5-year anniversary show. What were your original plans looking like for that, if you had even gotten that far?
So I think the schedule this year would have looked a little different than usual. We're planning to run at least every month. The plan was to run, obviously, January to July, with July being the 2020 Vacation Land Cup. We're going to have one show in August in between that was going to be a smaller show leading up to September, being at the Expo. So the plan was to go back to the Expo for the 5-year anniversary, as we did last year for the 4-year anniversary. And we were going to run the Vacation Land Cup in the August show, probably about 2.5 weeks apart. So it would have been very close quarters on those two shows. And then a lot of time, probably a month and a half to build up to the Expo. So it's a bummer that, things turned out the way they did. I mean, we haven't had a live event since February for Limitless Wrestling, and we had one, I believe, the first weekend of March for Let's Wrestle. And it's just crazy because we had a lot planned out for this year that I think people would have been very excited about. But the big thing looking forward is that I think with all this time removed and kind of having everything taken away without planning for that, it's made me miss it a lot, and it's going to make me appreciate everything a lot more once we have any normalcy back. So very excited to even think about the possibility of putting together some kind of show again, but we're not there yet.
So since we're not there yet, it got us thinking, what can we do to commemorate 5 years of Limitless Wrestling? So many things have happened, Randy, in 5 years. Do you have an idea of how many shows you've run in these 5 years approximately?
Limitless and Let's Wrestle, or just Limitless?
Limitless, since we're just talking about the 5 years of Limitless.
I would guess off the top of my head, we have to be around like 35 to 40.
Okay. So a lot of things have happened in those 35, 40 shows. So you may remember some big things that happened. You may have forgotten some things that happened. But they ultimately all live in the Limitless lexicon, and they remind us of what we love about this promotion. And Limitless has always been a promotion for the fans by fans. Am I wrong, Randy?
Absolutely correct.
So, got us thinking, what can we do to commemorate 5 years? And well, since Randy comes to me for all good ideas, because, hello, I have an Emmy, we decided that we are going to do a 5-year Limitless Wrestling anniversary video podcast, a video show, if you will, that will be streamed on Limitless social media, maybe even other devices as well, that are going to take, it's going to take a look back at the 5 years of Limitless Wrestling. And Randy, the big thing with this is we need the help of the Limitless fans in order to do that. So how can they help out? What are we going to be doing here?
Well, we're trying to count down the top 10 moments of the past 5 years. So we need help choosing those because, we need the opinion of the fans. We want to get your opinion on everything, and we want to see what the numbers are. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to put together a poll similar to what we've done in the past for the year-end awards for Limitless Wrestling. We're going to put a big poll on the Limitless Wrestling site. We're going to link it on our social media. And on that poll, you're going to be able to choose your top moments throughout the history of Limitless Wrestling. If we think we've missed anything, you'll be able to write something in. But I want to put it out there right now. Give us a tweet. Shoot us a tweet at LWMain, either to John, Alba, or myself. If you think that we're going to miss something, or if you want to just put yours out there, throw a tweet out there to us. Let us know what your moment that you'd like included on this poll would be. We're going to match it with ours. We're going to get a list of 20 to 30 together, and we're going to post it on limitlesswrestling.com. And it'll be up there for a week or two. we're going to get your votes. We're going to put it together. And then I think we're going to get a cast of characters together for this top 10 countdown.
Yeah, the hope is we'll get a round table going, and you may see some special cameos from some Limitless stars. And this is your replacement for your 5-year anniversary show, folks. So we're going all in on this.
We're going to try to have a lot of different guests on this, whether they can join the round table or if they can just pop in for a second. We're really going to try to get a lot of the members of the Limitless Wrestling roster or the Limitless Wrestling crew involved in this. And I really want to try to make it as inclusive as possible. And I just want to make it clear, if you have a moment that sticks out to you that may not be on everybody's list or maybe something that you think we may look over, definitely send it our way. I don't want to look over anything with this. I want the true top 10 and I want everybody to participate. So when you see this link going around, give it a click, give it a vote, give it a share, let everybody know, and we'll get the top 10.
We got a lot of cool ones that we've been floating around, you and I, just coming up with some ideas, and it's going to be impossible for us to individually name all these incredible moments. Just some that were just going through my head. I'm thinking about the cage falling. I'm thinking about Anthony Green being the Cinderella story in the Vacation Land Cup. I think about Ashley Vox and Chris Statlander bringing each other to submission on multiple occasions. There are so many to choose from. MJF storming the Westbrook Armory and just absolutely capturing everyone's attention. So many come to mind, Randy.
Yeah, I thought about the MJF moment actually, where it was post title defense against Ashley Vox. I'm not sure if you saw the footage of the ring getting littered with bottles, cans, trash, anything anyone could throw. Quite a moment. There's been quite a few. I mean, I think back even early on, you're the one who mentioned the Chris Hero, Zack Sabre Jr. match even happening.
Yeah. Changed everything. And then I look forward a year from that to the Cody Rhodes show on Real. His match with JT Dunn in the main event, that really was our solidifier in Southern Maine and kind of set our course at the Westbrook Armory for about a year and a half. So just a lot of different things, man. It's so many. So it's going to be tough to kind of whittle it down. Well, I'm excited for that to happen. So again, we are going to put these things up to a vote starting next week. So you have this entire week from when this episode drops until our next episode to submit your nominees at LW Maine, at John Alba. I always forget your combination of at Randy _ Carver LW. I got it.
Yes, sir.
I got it. And let us know. We need to know this because Randy and I have done some digging and we've got a bunch of great ones, but we're almost certainly forgetting something.
I always worry that I overlook something, and especially I know that different moments are definitely going to mean more to other people than
exactly.
Me, you know
That's
what I mean?
exactly what I was going to say. Something that may or may not have stood out all that much to you or I might be like the defining moment for some Limitless fans. So we really want to hear what you guys have to say, your favorite moments. We'll put up a post as well on Twitter this week asking you guys where you can just drop them in a thread. So that
I'm going to toss it on Facebook as well.
Great.
So there'll be one on Twitter. There'll be one on Facebook. You can contribute to the thread on Twitter. Drop a comment on Facebook, whichever your preferred social media is. But yeah, we're going to try to gather them up. Next week's podcast, we're going to run down the list really quickly of what the options are going to be on the poll. And then as soon as that episode drops, the poll will be available on limitlesswrestling.com.
Yeah, and we really want your voices to be heard. So make sure you are participating in this because, again, this is your 5-year anniversary show. This is the best we can do for you guys. And there's going to be some surprises. There's going to be some really cool stuff. I'm really excited for it. I know Randy's really excited for it. And again, you'll be able to stream it on Limitless social devices. It's going to be great. Randy, I have an idea for next week's podcast. How about we do a scramble watch along?
Ooh, I'm down with that.
That could be a lot of fun.
Okay.
And we'll showcase a lot of different Limitless talent over the years. Maybe we'll even throw in a Let's Wrestle cluster jam or two.
Dude, I was just about to say, let's get Danger Kid for that.
Okay.
I'll have him pick out a cluster jam, and then we can pick out a scramble, and we'll go from there.
I like that idea. I think that will be a lot of fun, and we'll throw that to a little poll vote as well.
Cool.
Because this is a podcast for the fans. We like having you guys involved on that. Randy, anything else coming to mind for you this week?
Nothing I can think of. Keep watching The Road. Throw us some tweets if you're watching live. Use the hashtag The Road. We're throwing our teas out during every single episode. We'd love to interact with you during the episode. We're live tweeting everyone. Again, it's Wednesday at 7 p.m. streaming on independentwrestling.tv. We're not even halfway through the series yet, so a lot more to come. Really fun episode this week. A lot of Limitless regulars appearing this week as well. So kind of feels like we're getting it's a little taste of Limitless Wrestling. It's what we can give you right now, and it's a lot of fun. So check it out. Thanks for tuning into the podcast. It's really cool to still be able to do this podcast and still kind of step into the world for Limitless Wrestling, even if it's only an hour at a time. So thanks for listening. We'll give us some reviews on this thing. That helps us get noticed. It helps us get out there on the feeds. So if you want to drop us a review on the podcast, that's always appreciated too.
No doubt about it. We'll see you guys next week.